What's going on, guys? It's your boy G-Rocket here, and in today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys which teams I think are now contenders after the free agency so far. And yeah, there's a couple new teams that I think that are thrusted into this new role of contenders because they had either a really good offseason, or I think it'll be a little bit predictive based off of like development, or they had a really good draft. But these are the teams that I think will be contenders and have became in that echelon of contending teams that have a chance to win the title. And whether that's in like the East, because it's really weak, or if I think it's just a team that was already really good but just got that much better. First, I wanted to start with the Nuggets. I think that they had probably the best offseason by far. I mean, whether it's just replenishing depth for the bench, which is really needed that the last couple of years that they've haven't got that far, or that they've just gotten knocked out of the playoffs. I think they really needed depth on the bench, and they signed Tim Hardaway Jr., they signed Valanciunas, and they signed a couple other really good like key pieces that I think are really going to help solidify that bench, as well as they traded Michael Porter Jr., who was maybe their worst like starter, or just like worst starter that like fit for the fit, because every time you pass him the ball, he's instantly shooting it. Like, he's not even gonna pass it. He's not gonna. He just, the ball gets to him and he's just like a black hole. He just doesn't pass the ball at all. Is always just taking bad shots. And you replaced him with Cam Johnson, who is maybe the best role player in the league, if not one of them, who will just play his role. He's gonna make probably just as many 3-pointers. He's way better off the dribble. He's a better passer, better defender, a little bit worse rebounder, but I think that Jokic is already getting enough rebounds, and you already have that decent sized front court with Murray, who's about like 6'4", and I think Braun is about 6'5", 6'6". He's pretty they're a pretty solid rebounding team, I'd say. So I think that you're not going to lose much rebounding, and I think you get way better versatility in Cam Johnson, and he's a way smarter player and just a better like playoff player, I feel like, and he'll just perform better. And he's been at the the highest stakes in the world. He's been in the finals. He's been there. He's done his thing. I feel like just a super role player who's just gonna know his role. He's gonna play really good defense, give you great 3-and-D, feats, and I feel like he's just gonna really fit that team very well. And I think that they really just needed to get a little bit of a breath of fresh air in there. Someone who's gonna really be playing hard, because he came from a really bad situation. So now he's ready. He's ready to play hard. He's ready, to shoulder the weight of way less pressure, not being such a, that much weight on you, that much pressure being like one of the main options. Now he's gonna be a good third option, who is just gonna really need to take up a bunch of spot up threes, maybe take some mid range pull ups, which he's more than capable with, and just play some good defense around your two stars who aren't great defenders. But you still have Braun, you got Gordon, so, and then you got a couple really solid bench pieces that they added. So I just feel like, oh yeah, they added Bruce Brown back, which is a really good, nice heart kind of player who's just gonna, play the game the right way. He could shoot, he can defend. Another 3-and-D type of guy who's just gonna play hard and give you everything he has. And he was on their championship team, so I think it's good that they brought him back. The next team that I wanted to talk about was the Magic, and I think the Magic, yeah, they signed Desmond Bane, but I think it wasn't just. I mean, they traded for Desmond Bane. It wasn't just trading for Desmond Bane. I feel like it's freeing up the minutes, freeing up the space. I feel like you got rid of 3 guys who weren't really contributing too much to your team, and then you got back Desmond Bane, who's gonna shoot a lot. He's gonna fit the role very well, because yeah, now you do have a big 3, and yeah, there's a lot of ball to go around between the 3 of them. But I think it's not gonna be as clunky of a fit, because I feel like he's gonna be like that point guard, hopefully, that they have. Because I think if you have him and Suggs, Paolo, Franz, and whoever their big man's going to be, someone that has a little bit of offensive ability but can play some defense, I feel like they're going to have a versatile team, whether it's defensively and offensively. And I feel like then they're finally getting some more shooting around them. And I think if Paolo takes another leap, Franz could take another leap, Jalen Suggs could take another leap. I feel like everyone's young and still up and coming, still like developing a little bit more. I feel like they could definitely be jolted and definitely have a really good chance, to go farther in the playoffs. Also, the East is wide open, so I took that into consideration a little bit, because there's not way less competition. It's way easier, so they're gonna be able to win probably a lot more games. And I think Desmond Bane definitely is a difference maker. I feel like the shot creation and the ball handling, and he's not a bad defender. So average defender. You're not losing too much, but I think that just that creation and just overall like that presence, on like the hard closeouts that people are gonna do because you gotta respect him. Then I feel like it'll open up a lot more driving lanes and definitely open up the paint a lot more for Paolo and Franz to get downhill. So I really like that acquisition, and I definitely think that that alone pretty much jumps them up. I don't think they didn't make at any other really big moves, but I feel like that was the major swing that is really what they need to do because they already have really good depth. They're gonna always have a great defense, and I think just adding more creation there and more shooting is really what they needed. So I feel like that's a really big addition for them. The next team is the Hawks, who they made a ton of different moves and stuff like that, but the main thing is adding Porzingis and adding Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who adding a lot of defense, a lot of shooting, which their team typically has kind of struggled a little bit with shooting because, Dyson Daniels isn't a great shooter. I mean, Richache was all right shooting, but overall, like, their center play hasn't been great. None of them can shoot at all. So I just feel like you're opening it up offensively and defensively. So that's two really big changes there. I think now you get to have a Kongu coming off the bench in probably a better role for him, where he's going to be able to run the bench offense a little bit. I feel like, they had a solid draft too, and I think that they're set up well for the future because they do have some picks still, and I think that they've been doing pretty good acquisitions. They got Porzingis for almost nothing, and I think that they just signed Nickeil Alexander-Walker, so they didn't have to give up anything for him. So yeah, I mean they're just in a really good place, and I think that they got solid depth now, and I think that they got off the people that they needed to get off of, and I think that they got younger, they got a little bit better, or a lot better, I think. And I think in this weak East, I don't see any reason why they can't be a top 4 or 5 seed, in the East because it's very weak right now. And I could definitely see the top 4 seeds being Hawks, Magic, Cavs, and Knicks. I think that would probably be the top 4 if I had to bet. So I definitely think the Hawks can do it. And then lastly is Mavs. I think that they are another team that just really shooting up and really running under a lot of people's radars because, they're like, oh, Kyrie's out, AD, they got a little bit old. But if you think about it, they have insane depth. They just got the number 1 overall pick. They got Ryan Nembhard, who's really, really good. That's undrafted. And I think he's going to really be able to, help that team too off the bench. But you also are starting Cooper Flag. So you could have like, obviously, once Kyrie's come back, then you could have Kyrie, I don't know. You could really have anybody there. You could have like Kyrie, Najee Marshall. You could have like, or if you wanted to play really small, if you want to play really big, you could have like Kyrie. I mean, even Kyrie, PJ Washington, Cooper Flag. You could have AD, Derek Lively. You have Gafford. You have so much size, so much versatility. You still have Klay Thompson, so Klay Thompson could be the 2 still, or he could be off the bench. I mean, yeah, if you could just so much versatility on that team. I feel like PJ could play off the bench, or one of the bigs could play off the bench, whatever it is. I feel like, but a mix of Cooper Flag, Kyrie, and AD as their big 3 plus insane depth. I think that team should never go under the radar, and they could easily, go deep in the playoffs. I know the West is really, really tough. That's why I have them as a later seed. But I think that they should definitely make the playoffs, and that they could definitely, I could definitely see them making a run. Especially Kyrie's going to come back fresh. It is off of an injury, but he's going to be fresh. He didn't play the whole year. He's just going to be fresh, well rested. They're going to, make sure that he doesn't rush back from his injury. Just wait till the playoffs, and you know what I mean. I feel like they really could go far, and they really have a really, really good team. And they're definitely flying under the radar a lot because they're not seen as one of the top West teams, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went far in the playoffs. So yeah, those are the teams that are just running under the radar right now that I feel like had a really good offseason and they've just been thrusted into that contender type of tier, I guess, that contender tier. And yeah, so let me know what y'all think in the comments. Just remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.